saving money is making you poor. I said what I said. And before you close this video and go find someone more agreeable, give me 90 seconds. Because if you have a savings account right now, if you are putting money in there every month and feeling responsible about it, I need to show you something. Something your bank is very much hoping you never figure out. My name is Donald Cash, double chin, gold tie. One very expensive lesson about trusting the wrong financial instincts. And today, I want to talk about the most dangerous financial habit in America. Not gambling, not overspending, not crypto, not buying boats like my neighbor Greg. The most dangerous financial habit in America is saving money. Specifically, saving money in a low-interest savings account and calling it a financial strategy. Now, I know how that sounds, and I promise by the end of this video you will understand exactly what I mean. Stay with me. Before I explain, let me tell you why I am qualified to talk about this. I am not a financial advisor. I want to be very clear about that. I am a 53-year-old man with a round face, a double chin, and 26 years of working in middle management. I saved money for most of my adult life, responsibly, diligently, the way my parents taught me. And then one day, I sat down and actually did the math on what my savings account was doing. Not what I assumed it was doing, what it was actually mathematically doing. And what I found changed how I think about money completely. So this video is not theory, it is arithmetic. Simple, uncomfortable arithmetic that your bank would rather you not think about too carefully. Let me start with a concept. It is called purchasing power. Purchasing power means, what can a dollar actually buy? And here is the thing about purchasing power. It is not fixed. It changes every year because of inflation. Inflation is the general increase in prices over time. When inflation runs at 3%, everything costs 3% more this year than last year, which means your dollar buys 3% less. Your dollar did not disappear. It is still in your account. The number did not change, but what it can buy quietly shrank. Think about it this way. In 2000, the average price of a new car in America was around $22,000. In 2010, $29,000. In 2020, $37,000. In 2024, $48,000. Same car, different price, different purchasing power required. If you saved $22,000 in 2000 and left it completely untouched in a zero-interest account, you would have $22,000 in 2024. But that $22,000 would buy less than half of what it bought in 2000. The money stayed, the value evaporated. This is inflation, and it is happening to your savings account right now, today, while you are watching this video. Now let me give you the specific numbers. The Federal Reserve has a target inflation rate of 2% per year. That is the goal. Sometimes it runs higher in 2022. It hit 9%, the highest in 40 years. Sometimes lower. But as a long-term average, plan on 2 to 3% per year. Your savings account, the standard one at your regular bank, what does it pay? The national average interest rate on a standard savings account in the United States right now is approximately 0.45%. 0.45. Let me write that out. Inflation, 2.5% per year. Your savings account, 0.45% per year. The gap between those two numbers is 2.05%. That is how much poorer you are getting every single year, just by saving. On $10,000, that is $205 of purchasing power, gone per year. On $50,000, $1,025, gone per year. On $100,000, $2,050, gone per year. Your bank is not doing this to hurt you. They are doing it because they can, because most people never do this math, because the number in the account does not go down, so it does not feel like losing. But it is losing, quietly, consistently, every month. I want to tell you about a man named Robert. Robert is my father-in-law. He is 71 years old, born in Ohio, worked as an engineer for 38 years, never missed a mortgage payment, never carried credit card debt, drove the same car for 11 years. Robert did everything right. He saved. He lived within his means. He was disciplined in a way that I genuinely respect. By the time Robert retired at 65, he had accumulated approximately $200,000 in savings accounts and certificates of deposit. $200,000, 38 years of work, careful, patient, disciplined saving. I visited Robert about 2 years after he retired. We were sitting at his kitchen table. He seemed slightly anxious, not dramatically, just a low-level financial unease that I recognized. I asked him about his savings. He told me the CD was paying 1.2%. The savings account was paying 0.6%. I pulled out a piece of paper and I did the math in front of him. $200,000, average return, roughly 1% per year. That is $2,000 per year in interest income. Inflation at the time, 2.8%. On $200,000, that is $5,600 of purchasing power lost per year. Net result? Robert was losing approximately $3,600 of purchasing power every year on money he had spent 38 years accumulating. He looked at the paper for a long time. He said, "I did not know that." Not defensive, not angry, just genuinely surprised. And that is the thing that gets me about this situation. Robert is not stupid. Robert is an engineer. Robert understands numbers, but nobody had ever shown him this specific number before. His bank certainly had not. Now let me ask you the question I asked Robert. How much money do you have in a savings account right now? I mean a real number, whatever it is. Write it down if you want. Now look up what interest rate that account is paying. If you do not know, check your bank's website. It will be there, usually buried. Take that interest rate, subtract 2.5. That is approximately current inflation. The result is probably a negative number. That negative number is the annual percentage of value your savings is losing. Multiply it by your balance. That is what saving is costing you per year. Not in some abstract economic sense, in real purchasing power. Real things you will not be able to buy in the future because the money sat in the wrong place. I will wait while you do that math. So if saving is the problem, what is the solution? And this is where I want to be very precise, because I know some of you are already thinking, okay, Donald, are you going to tell me to put all my money in the stock market and just hope for the best? No, that is not what I am saying. I am saying match your money to its purpose and choose the right tool for each purpose. Let me break this down. Purpose 1, emergency fund. This is 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. Maybe 6 to 12 months if you are retired or have variable income. This money needs to be liquid, accessible within a day or two, not exposed to market risk. For this money, a savings account is correct, but not a regular savings account, a high-yield savings account. High-yield savings accounts are offered by online banks, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ally Bank, American Express National Bank, Discover. There are others. Right now, these accounts are paying approximately 4.5 to 5% annually. The exact same FDIC insurance as your regular bank, the exact same liquidity. You can move the money within 1 to 3 business days. The only difference, they pay 10 times the interest rate. If you have $30,000 in an emergency fund, regular savings account at 0.45%, $135 per year. High-yield savings account at 4.75%, $1,425 per year. Same $30,000, same liquidity, same safety, $1,300 more per year for making one phone call, setting up one account, moving the money once. This is the simplest upgrade in personal finance, and millions of people have not done it. Purpose 2, medium-term money. This is money you will need in 1 to 5 years, maybe a down payment, a car, a planned major expense. For this money, I-bonds are worth understanding. I bonds are issued by the United States Treasury, the federal government. They are about as safe gets. And here is what makes them interesting. Their interest rate is tied to inflation. The I bond rate is calculated twice a year in May and November based on the Consumer Price Index. When inflation is high, I bonds pay high rates. When inflation cools, they pay less. But by definition, they are designed to keep pace with inflation, which means your purchasing power is protected. Limitations. You can only buy $10,000 per year per person. They have a 1-year lockup. You cannot access the money for 12 months. And if you redeem before 5 years, you lose the last 3 months of interest. But for money you will not need for 1 to 5 years. I bonds are a legitimate inflation hedge. Go to treasurydirect.gov. That is the official US government site. You set up an account and buy directly. No broker, no fees. Purpose 3. Long-term money. And this is where the real conversation begins. Long-term money is anything you will not need for 5 or more years. Retirement funds, generational wealth, financial independence income. For long-term money, a savings account is not just suboptimal, it is genuinely destructive. Because over 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, the difference between a savings account and a well-chosen investment is not incremental. It is transformational. Let me show you the math. Take $50,000, 15 years, savings account at 0.45% per year. $50,000 becomes approximately $53,400. High yield savings at 4.5%. $50,000 becomes approximately $97,000. I bonds at an estimated average of 4%. $50,000 becomes approximately $90,000. Diversified dividend ETF like SCHD or VYM, historically averaging 8% total annual return, including dividends. $50,000 becomes approximately $158,800. Broad Market Index Fund S&P 500, historically averaging approximately 10% per year. $50,000 becomes approximately $209,000. $53,000 versus $209,000. Same $50,000, same 15 years, same person, different decision about where the money lived. Now let me address the objection I know is coming. The stock market can go down. Yes, it can, it does, it will, again. I am not pretending otherwise. In 2008, the S&P 500 dropped about 50%. In 2020, it dropped 34% in 5 weeks. These things happen. They are real. They are uncomfortable. But here is what I want you to understand about time. Over every 15-year rolling period in the history of the S&P 500 going back to 1926, the market has had a positive return, every one. Even if you had the extraordinary bad luck to invest your entire life savings at the absolute peak of the market right before the 2008 crash, by 15 years later you were still significantly ahead of where a savings account would have left you. Time is the variable that makes market risk manageable, which is exactly why I say savings account for emergency fund, shorter-term needs. Investments for money you will not touch for 5+ years. The risk is not in the investment. The risk is in using the wrong tool for the wrong time horizon. Let me tell you about the specific investments I use, because I think specificity matters. I am not going to tell you what to buy. I am going to tell you what I own and why. You make your own decisions. My core holdings for dividend income are 3 ETFs. First, SCHD, the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. SCHD holds approximately 100 companies. These are not random companies. They are companies that have consistently paid and grown their dividends for at least 10 consecutive years. Companies with strong cash flow, strong balance sheets, real businesses that generate real income. Current yield, approximately 3.5% annually. But here is the important part. SCHD has historically grown its dividend payment by about 11% per year, which means the income grows. Not just the value of the shares, the actual cash payment it sends you every quarter, growing every year. I have owned SCHD for about 3 years. My average cost basis per share is lower than the current price, and the quarterly dividend I receive is higher than when I bought in. Both directions are working. Second, VYM, the Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF. VYM holds about 450 companies, broader than SCHD, more stability. Slightly lower yield, around 3%, but very consistent. This is my foundation, the bedrock, the part of the portfolio I think about the least because it does its job quietly and reliably. Third, JEPI, the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF. JEPI is different. It uses a covered call strategy on top of a defensive equity portfolio. The result is a higher yield, currently around 7 to 8%, but less price appreciation than SCHD or VYM. I use JEPI for income generation, not growth. It is about 15% of my portfolio. Together, VYM for stability, SCHD for growth, JEPI for income. My blended yield is around 4.2%. On a $100,000 portfolio, that is $4,200 per year in dividend income. On 200,000, 8,400. Income that arrives, whether the market goes up or down. Income that gets reinvested and buys more shares. Income that grows as the companies raise their dividends. Compare that to a savings account. 200,000 at 0.45%, $900 per year. 200,000 in my portfolio at 4.2% yield, $8,400 per year. The difference is $7,500 per year in income alone, before any price appreciation. Now, I want to talk about the psychological barrier, because I think the math is actually the easy part. The hard part is the feeling. Savings accounts feel safe. We have been conditioned since childhood to associate the savings account with financial responsibility. Putting money in a savings account feels like doing the right thing. And here is the insidious truth about that feeling. It is partially correct. Saving is better than not saving. Discipline is better than no discipline. But the feeling of safety that a savings account gives you is not entirely real. It is nominal safety. The number does not go down, but the value does, invisibly, silently, every month. Meanwhile, a diversified investment portfolio feels riskier. The number goes up and down. There are bad days. There are months where the value drops. But over long periods of time, it is the savings account that is destroying your wealth, and the investment portfolio that is building it. The feeling is backwards, and once you understand why, it becomes much easier to act correctly. Let me give you a specific action plan. 5 steps. In order. Step 1. Find out what your savings account is actually paying. Log in to your bank. Find the interest rate. Write it down. Then subtract 2.5. Look at that number. Feel uncomfortable about it. Good. That discomfort is useful. Step 2. Open a high-yield savings account. Marcus, Ally, Amex, Discover. Pick one. Open an account. Move your emergency fund there. This is the single highest return, lowest effort financial action most people can take right now. Do it today. Not this week. Today. It takes 30 minutes. Step 3. Define your buckets. Emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses. High-yield savings. Done. Medium-term savings money you need in 1 to 5 years. I-bonds up to $10,000 per year. Or a short-term bond fund. Or keep it in the high-yield savings. Long-term money, 5 years or more. This belongs in the market. Index funds. Dividend ETFs. Something diversified and low cost. Step 4. Automate. Set up automatic transfers. Every month. Whatever you can. Whatever amount does not cause you stress. The amount matters far less than the consistency. $100 a month invested consistently for 20 years becomes a serious amount of money. The math of compound interest requires time and consistency. Give it both. Step 5. Stop checking every day. I know this is hard. I check too often. Most people do. But here is the truth. The volatility you see when you check daily is noise. It is not signal. It is not meaningful information about whether your long-term strategy is working. Check once a quarter. Review your allocations. Reinvest dividends. Then close the app and go live your life. The portfolio does not need your attention every day. It needs your contributions and your patience. I want to come back to Robert. After that conversation at his kitchen table, Robert made some changes. Not dramatic changes. Robert is not a dramatic man. He kept about $60,000 in a high-yield savings account, his emergency fund, his comfort money, the amount that lets him sleep at night, regardless of what the market does. The remaining $140,000 he moved into a conservative dividend portfolio, heavy on VYM and SCHD, light on anything speculative. 2 years later, his dividend income is running at approximately $580 per month, $6,960 per year. From the same $140,000 that was earning him $840 per year in the savings account, he does not call it investing, he calls it finally making the money work. And honestly, that is a better way to put it than anything I have said in this video. Let me leave you with the core idea, the thing I want you to remember after you close this video. Money in motion beats money at rest. A savings account is money at rest. It is sitting there, waiting, losing ground to inflation every single day. A high-yield savings account is better. An I bond is better. A dividend ETF is significantly better. Not because risk is good, but because the risk of doing nothing, of leaving money in an account that pays less than inflation, is a risk too. It is just a risk that does not feel like a risk because the number does not go down. But purchasing power is real, and losing it quietly, year after year, for decades, adds up to an enormous amount of money. Money that could have been working for you. Money that could have been building income. Money that could have been the difference between a comfortable retirement and a stressful one. Your bank does not have a reason to explain this to you. Your parents probably did not know to explain it. And most people go their entire financial lives without anyone sitting them down and saying, hey, that savings account, it is not doing what you think it is doing. So consider this, that conversation. You now know what inflation does to purchasing power. You know the gap between savings account rates and inflation. You know the alternatives. High-yield savings, I-bonds, dividend ETFs. You know the math on what 20 or 30 years of the right decision looks like versus the wrong one. The rest is up to you. The gold tie is still tight. Jerome ate something he should not have eaten this morning. He is fine, probably. And the portfolio is working. Let the money do the work. If this video helped, subscribe. Because next week, I am opening my actual brokerage account on camera. Every holding, every percentage, every dividend payment I received last quarter. Real transparency. No filter, no clean version. And in the comments right now, tell me what your savings account is paying, the actual rate. I will reply to every single one and tell you exactly what that same money could be earning in a high-yield savings account or a dividend ETF. Every comment. Donald Cash, out.